Hello everybody, it's Liam from A Shot of Wildlife, and today we are back on the banks of the River Wensum. Now, until recently I've been struggling to film using an old DSLR style camera with it did have quite a good zoom lens on it, but it didn't have automatic focus when videoing. So anything that moved that was too far away or was too small, I couldn't really get good footage of. However, I have recently purchased a newer camera. I say newer because it's not brand new. I got it second hand. It only cost me 120 quid, but it's a lot better than the camera I was using. So the reason for today's video is to go along, spend a couple of hours here and just see some of the species that hopefully I can catch on camera now that I wasn't able to film before. Let's go and see what I find. I didn't have to go far. In fact, I barely took 2 steps before I spotted this banded damselfly. This insect has an interesting life cycle. The eggs are laid inside the stems of aquatic plants. Once the larvae hatch, they spend the next 2 years lurking in the mud at the bottom of ponds or rivers, snatching unwitting fish, tadpoles and invertebrates. Once the adults emerge, the males are this blue colour with the dark band around each wing. The females are more metallic green and have unmarked wings. The males are very territorial and take short flights to advertise themselves to the females. They don't miss an opportunity though, and this one seems to be snacking whilst on the job. Whilst filming the damselflies, I noticed another creature that looked as if it was more suited to a sci-fi movie. This is in fact the empty shell of a dragonfly nymph. If you look closely, you can see the hole below the back of the head. This is where the adult dragonfly would have emerged. Insects are one of the most diverse groups of life forms and have evolved to make use of almost every single habitat on Earth. The pond skater is one of these highly evolved creatures and effortlessly glides along the surface film of the river. They have tiny hairs that run along each leg, allowing them to distribute their weight so efficiently they do not break through the surface tension of the water. These hairy feet have a second function too. Pond skaters are predators that feed on insects that fall into the water. They use these tiny hairs to sense vibrations in the surface tension, and this is how they locate their prey. I'm not sure why the closest pond skater here is raising and lowering its body, but I would guess it might be signalling to the other one that it is not an easy meal. As I walked further up the river, I couldn't miss the opportunity to include the first fungi in my wildlife videos. Fungi is far from my strong point, but I think that this is the southern bracket fungus. Here they are growing up the trunk of an old willow tree, and some of them measure more than 40 centimeters across. This fungus grows from the bottom. The new growth is white but becomes a darker brown colour as it gets older. Here on the far bank is the next species that I've never been able to get good footage of, the moorhead. This bird is really common along shallow rivers, streams and around village ponds. They have a red face mask that runs down to the tip of their beak, which is a vibrant yellow colour. These birds can get very territorial throughout the spring and summer and flash their white rump markings at each other whilst having disputes. Moorhens are omnivores. They pick insects and vegetation from the water surface and sometimes venture onto the bank to find more food. Before I was making wildlife videos, I found a place in Cambridge where I could get to within metres of moorhen families, so maybe one day soon I will return there and hopefully get some really good close-up footage. So we've moved slightly further along down the river now. I've actually crossed over to the other side, so where I was filming before is around there somewhere. However, we managed to get some good footage so far. I know it's a bit surprising that I haven't been able to get some good footage of a moorhen before, as they are quite common. But as I said, my DSLR wouldn't let me focus if something moved, and moorhens are quite skittish, so they're often moving and I'd get like 1 or 2 seconds and then it'd be out of focus again. So, all looking good. There's obviously the damselflies as well, and the pond skaters, and maybe I've thrown a bit of footage of the Egyptian geese because they've got goslings just over there. I know I was going to say there was species that I haven't filmed before, but man, it was cute, so hopefully I've included it. Anyway, I spoke to a dog walker and he said that he often sees otters way down there towards the city. So I'm going to start walking down that way and hopefully the rain holds off and I'll be able to get some footage of otters. How amazing would that be? I hadn't included the Egyptian goose footage, but I will now. I think this is the male bird from the pair that I filmed in this park earlier in the year for my Water Birds of the River Wensum video. If this is the case, I believe that this could be the 3rd batch of goslings from them this year. These goslings are around 3 weeks old and seem to be very healthy. Well then guys, unfortunately it's not looking too good. I've come past the place where the person said the otters were and there is no signs, so who knows. There are quite a few people fishing along here, so they could be hiding up or they could have moved on, or maybe I'm just not that good at spotting otters. However, I'll quickly show you the river at this part. So both the banks are quite built up and there's not that much vegetation, so it's quite different to the place where I started filming, where the emergent vegetation was coming out of the side of the river. I imagine this is quite a hostile place for wildlife, but looking from a bridge further that way, oh, nope, you can't see it, but looking from a bridge further that way, I did see some big chubs swimming around. I haven't got my waterproof camera with me, so typical. Anyway, gonna walk back to the car now. If I do see something interesting, I'll be sure to share it with you, and let's keep our fingers crossed for otters. As I began to walk up the stairs from where I'd just filmed, I almost stepped on this collared dove. At first I thought that there was something wrong with it, but I think it was actually just pretty tame and used to people. Despite how common they are now, collared doves are actually a relatively new species to the UK. They hadn't been recorded as breeding here until 1955 or 1956 depending on which book you read, and their first reported nest was only 30 miles from here in Cromer. Their populations have boomed since then. There are currently thought to be more than 2 million in the UK, and they have become an invasive species in North America. Well then, I'm back in the car now and unfortunately no otters today. Maybe they had otter plans. Anyway, it's been a good few hours by the river. I've enjoyed testing out the new camera and I'm really looking forward to what it's going to allow me to do in my future videos. If you have enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, and I really appreciate everyone's ongoing support. Thank you for watching and I'll see you again soon.